Please don't do it, please. Please don't. Please don't. The artist is out of this out of you and cut a place. They want you on numerous Alice. Was she going on to Juliet ideas ever cited? I'm now in the room. It was Everything rolls into a memory from the past, where we see Abby moving down a long hallway while alarms are blaring all around her, building up this heavy tension in the air. Right then, one of her crew comes up to her, saying the person she's looking for is dead. The girl tries to stop her from going through that door, telling her flat out that what's on the other side, she ain't gonna be able to handle it, says it's too much. But Abby, she don't trust her, never seen her before. And despite the warning, the girl straight up tells her dad got his brains blown out. Abby refuses to believe it, not unless she sees it herself, so she pushes through the door anyway. And there it is, the scene of the crime. It hits her like a damn truck. The sight is so brutal, so raw, she can't hold it in. She screams out, gutted by the loss. Yo. Now jumping back to the present, Abby wakes up at a station not too far from town. One of her guys, Owen, tells her he took the morning to stand watch, keeping tabs on the patrols moving in and out of that fortress where Joel's hiding out. Just then, another one from the crew, Manny, takes a look around and he's honestly stunned by the size of the place. Says it didn't look nearly this big in the dark. He lets out a low whistle, taking it all in, like he just realized what they're really up against. The rest of the crew shares the same reaction. Now that it's broad daylight, they finally realize that what looked like just some small settlement at first is actually a full-blown city. It's got its own power grid, wired up and running, keeping the place self-sufficient like it don't need nothing from the outside. Even so, Abby's still holding on to hope. She figures if they can put together a flawless plan, they might be able to sneak in. But Owen breaks it down for her, says he scoped out the area and found 4 main entrances, each one guarded by watchtowers. On top of that, the exits are locked down with heavily armed patrols, and they follow overlapping routes, moving like clockwork. That kind of setup, it screams ex-military, people who know what they're doing because they've been trained to a T. And even if by some miracle they manage to get through the gates, dodge all the security, and somehow avoid those damn tracker dogs, Owen reminds Abby they still got no clue where exactly Joel's holed up inside that fortress. At that, Abby throws out an idea, says maybe they can hit a patrol, grab someone, and force out the info they need. But Mel shuts that down right away. She reminds them all that they made a pact. No one else gets hurt besides Joel. That was the deal. Abby tries to backpedal a bit, says she didn't mean hurting anyone, just wanted to scare them enough to talk. But the rest of the crew ain't buying it. They point out the obvious. If those soldiers clam up and refuse to spill, they can't just let them walk away. That'd blow the whole thing wide open and put everybody at risk. That'd leave him no choice but to take him out. With not many good options left, Owen finally admits he's got a plan cooking, but it needs a little more time to fine-tune and make sure everything goes smooth. Abby, trusting his judgment, agrees to let him run with it, and offers to take the next guard shift while he works on the details of his strategy. So while Abby heads out to keep watch, the rest of the crew gathers inside and starts giving Owen the 3rd degree. They're eyeing him with serious suspicion, asking if he really has a solid plan, or if they're just wasting time. That's when Owen finally spills the beans. His plan, as it turns out, isn't really a plan at all. He's just trying to get Abby to head back home, cause from where he's standing, the only thing waiting for him in those mountains is death, and it's looking like they'll be the ones paying the price. Meanwhile, back in the city, Ellie's peaceful sleep gets cut short when Jesse knocks on her door. He's there to remind her that she's gotta join the patrol scheduled for 8 a.m. While he's at it, he brings up what went down the night before. Ellie, a little thrown off, tells him Dina kissed her, but she's not sure if Dina even remembers it. She was pretty out of it, what with the herbs she'd been taking, but Jesse quickly clears that up, letting her know he was actually talking about the fight she had with Seth and Joel. Now that he knows, Jesse jokes about Ellie kissing her ex, giving her a hard time for hugging him right after, especially considering that she and Dina had just broken up a week before. Still, it's all said in good fun, and it's clear he's not really bothered by it. He's just messing around, not trying to judge her or anything. Ellie rolls her eyes, but there's a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It's obvious Jesse is just looking to keep things light, but there's a hint of concern under his playful tone. He knows how tough things have been for her lately, and he's just trying to keep the mood from getting too heavy. As they head towards the door, Jesse brings up that the town council's put everyone on high alert. During the night, 2 patrolmen came across a bunch of dead infected near 7 cabins, frozen stiff from the cold. At first it seemed like just another typical situation for the conditions, but something stood out to them. The bodies looked like they had been arranged, almost like they were being used as insulation. And sure enough, not long after, an ambush was triggered when 30 infected sprang to life from beneath the snow. They managed to take them out, but no one knows how many more could be hiding under the ice, which has everyone on edge. Jesse also reminds Ellie that, thanks to the story she shared about the infected with higher intelligence, fear's been spreading even more among the people in the town. These words upset Ellie, who shoots back, saying that if her presence bothers him so much, he can just leave her behind and let her patrol with Joel instead, claiming that things between them have gotten better. Jesse, skeptical, doesn't buy it, cause he's seen how she's been treating Joel, throwing shade and mistreating him this whole time. He raises an eyebrow, not convinced by her sudden change of heart, and calls her out on it. Ellie, frustrated, insists that she's trying to make things right, but Jesse just shakes his head, clearly not buying her excuses. With not many options, Ellie finally admits that her relationship with Joel is complicated. She acknowledges that from the outside, it might seem like a toxic or dysfunctional relationship, but she insists that they're still the same people they were when they first met. Despite everything, she says they'll always be together, cause their bond is still strong, even though it's scarred by the past. However, at that moment, Jesse breaks the news that Joel left an hour ago, teaming up with Dina. He explains that even though Joel wanted to patrol with her like they used to, almost like a father and daughter, he decided to let her rest. Upon hearing this, Jesse walks Ellie to the bar where they find Tommy talking to a group of citizens. He gives them clear instructions on what to do if they spot or hear a threat nearby. He reminds them that according to the emergency security protocol, the young and the elderly must head down to the basement first, where the doors will be locked until a signal is received. Meanwhile, the rest of the population will take up armed positions on the rooftops. Tommy also stresses that if anything manages to breach the walls, everyone must avoid the main street at all costs. With that said, Maria takes Ellie to the kitchen, where Seth is. She forces him firmly to apologize for his offensive words during the previous night's event. As a gesture of goodwill and compensation, Seth hands them supplies for the patrol they're about to carry out. Right after that, Jesse and Ellie begin their patrol, making their way through the snow-covered mountains. Meanwhile, in another part of the territory, Abby, exhausted from long hours of guarding in the harsh, icy weather, decides it's time to head back to base. However, before she can start her journey, she's drawn to the sound of horses belonging to a nearby patrol. She freezes for a moment, listening closely, as the distant hoofbeats grow louder, signaling the approach of something or someone important. At the watchtowers, Tommy gets an alert from one of the teams. Due to the low visibility caused by the growing snowstorm, the team informs him that they'll be returning to base for safety reasons. Given the situation, Tommy broadcasts the same order over the radio to all patrols, commanding an immediate return. Upon receiving the message, Jesse realizes that he and Ellie are too far out to head back right away. With the snowstorm rapidly intensifying, he decides that the most sensible move is to find shelter nearby. That's how they end up in a small, abandoned town. First, they stow their horses in a half-destroyed barn, then they head inside a store, overtaken by vegetation, where they find temporary refuge. Inside, Jesse tells Ellie that it was Eugene who showed him the hideout. He was Jesse's first patrol buddy, and ever since, Jesse kept the place secret, knowing that Maria would never approve of the crops Eugene kept there, especially because they were controversial plants. While exploring, Ellie finds a necklace with a firefly symbol among the belongings, leading her to conclude that Eugene had once been part of the group. Jesse then explains that Eugene left in 2010 when he couldn't handle killing people anymore. His choice was to walk away from all of that. Jesse goes on to add that Eugene couldn't stand the violence any longer, and as much as he wanted to make a difference, he realized he couldn't keep living that way. Ellie listens, absorbing the weight of Eugene's decision. Mentioning this, Jesse comments that it was tough and unfair for Joel to be forced to kill Eugene, but he also acknowledges that Eugene was beyond saving, his actions having crossed a line that couldn't be undone. It was a painful decision, but one that had to be made for everyone's safety. Back with Abby, the young woman finally decides to descend the mountain to follow the trail of the patrol she thought she saw. However, a miscalculation and a few missteps cause her to slip down the slope, sliding several meters. Although she survives the fall, she ends up landing in what appears to be the frozen grave of a large group of infected people. However, the biggest surprise is yet to come. Upon closer inspection, Abby realizes that some of the more developed infected are still alive. Upon detecting her presence, their bodies begin to twitch, which also wakes up those who are sheltering under the snow. One by one, they start emerging with frantic movements, charging at her. Abby runs with all her might, reaching a structure with high walls and stairs. Soon the army of infected gathers around her, trying to trap and drag her back into the snow. However, Abby manages to climb and cross to the other side of the wall unharmed, though the threat is far from over. As she catches her breath, she can hear the infected scratching and clawing at the wall, desperate to get through. Abby knows this is just the beginning and the danger isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Her presence causes the horde to surround the concrete wall and rush toward a nearby fence, which eventually gives way under the collective weight. Forced to crawl, Abby tries to escape without letting them touch her. At a critical moment, the fence completely breaks and one of the infected manages to reach her just at the end of the hallway. Just when it seems there's no way out and she's about to be bitten, a figure appears. It's Joel, who intervenes just in time to save her. Without wasting a second, he guides her to a nearby shelter, where both of them manage to get to safety, at least for the moment. At that exact moment, when Abby hears Dina referring to her companion as Joel, She immediately realizes this is the man she's been searching for. Instinctively, she tries to find her weapon among her clothes, but unable to, she decides to take a submissive and cooperative stance, following Joel's instructions without resistance for the time being. Her mind races, but she knows this is the only way to stay alive for now, especially with the tension so thick in the air. As they move forward, Abby can't shake the feeling that she's walking on thin ice, unsure of what's to come next. Dina, clearly on edge, demands explanations about both the origin of the group of infected that attacked them and where Abby comes from. Abby, not going into details, simply responds that she's from the mountains. However, with the imminent threat of the infected breaking into the place and knowing that pushing through the storm could mean a death sentence, Abby suggests they take shelter in a hotel located at the top of the mountain, where she claims her teammates are. With not many options left and time running out, Joel decides to go with her plan. Meanwhile, back in Jackson, Tommy gets worrying news. The only group that hasn't responded to the general call is the one his brother leads. Despite trying to reach him personally over the radio, there's no response, which only increases his concern. On the other side, in the plank-covered refuge, everything seems to be going fine until they hear over the radio that the town has lost contact with Joel and Dina's group. Given the situation, Ellie and Jesse decide they need to go after them. To cover more ground, they agree to split up and take different routes. Outside the walls of Jackson, maintenance and rebuilding work continues. At one of the inspection points, when the workers reopen the pipes, they discover roots growing vigorously inside. The roots appear to be spreading further than they expected, indicating a potential issue that could compromise their water supply. The workers exchange worried glances, realizing that the situation might be more serious than they initially thought. This time, however, they manage to see more clearly how the fungus is aggressively spreading through the pipes, almost like a living